Hello, welcome to my new player guide series number 4. Now this will only cover the classes, and I'll have another video for the clones because I want to speak more in depth about the clones and their stats and what does it mean and how you can use it with the classes, the weapons, the gear, the ship upgrades and some of the other stuff. So if you want the short version of the video, the Tunnel Rat is the best class ever made. After that it will be the Phoenix Brigade. And then last it will be Valkyrja Squad. So this is the top 3 classes you can play as in the game. Now the melee ones are not so bad, and some of the utility ones or the gimmicky ones are not so bad either, but it's not going to cut it in the end game or in the early game. In the mid game you can do a lot more stuff. So basically play the Tunnel Rats until you get a lot of ship upgrades, because with the ship upgrades again you can do so much more with your classes and your characters and the other stuff. I guess I should show you. So at this point of the game I can play with whatever I like, and I can also make some very gimmicky builds as well. So let's visit the classes. Well, I guess we don't need to do them in a particular order, we'll just do them in the order that I've unlocked them. Also keep in mind that there are a few important differences for the classes. Number 1, it will be passive perks and trigger perks. The trigger perks will also consume some of your hunger, so character with a lot of trigger perks will be very bad because sometimes they will trigger without you wanting. Another thing is that certain classes will type to better clones, but that's not a general rule because it will mostly be dependent on the equipment you use, because right now you can actually see what weapons are influenced by the passives or the active perks. So let's dive into it. So first of all, Scouts of Hades. What is this? Hardened. What does hardened mean? Okay, let's explain the whole damage system. So armor absorbs 90% of the damage, you still get 10% of the damage dealt to you, and whenever you receive damage you have a chance to receive a wound. I think the chance to receive a wound is around 25% or more, depends on what you get shot with. Because for example sniper rifles will always cause a wound, so yeah, if you get shot with a sniper rifle it will most likely hit and it will most likely cause a wound. And of course the automatic weapons and the shotguns can cause wounds just because they have more stuff thrown at you. When this is maxed out, it means you can get shot without receiving wounds, which is amazing. Training. This is, as you can see, it's accuracy for all of the guns, so this helps you kill enemies a lot faster, especially because you get some bonuses from being behind cover and something like that. So it's definitely going to help you survive a lot of fights in the early game and also kill enemies just by sheer precision, meaning you cannot miss a shot. And if you get shot, you will have a lower chance to receive a wound. Now, this is one of the things that some people might ignore. So as you can see, it says very clear, this is only for SMGs and shotguns. I think it was also for assault rifles in the previous version, but as you can see, the bonus will only apply to SMG and shotguns. So the Scouts of Hades are recommended to be playing with an SMG or a shotgun, which is not so bad because you find a lot of SMGs and shotguns in the early game. And this means you have to use them on auto fire for the SMGs or the longer burst. It will be much better if you upgrade these two. Or I guess even the shotguns on their burst mode, but you probably need something better, a better shotgun to use this one. So probably SMGs is your best weapon choice over here. Until you get a shotgun with a big magazine. Blind Fury. So this is interesting because initially I thought this was a very good perk, but it's not so good. Keep in mind that if you have, let's say, 2 or 3 perks that trigger, you'll waste a lot of hunger, and then it might also trigger when you don't want it. So I had a lot of problems kind of getting this to trigger when I wanted it. So the best way to do it is to stay outside of the range of the enemy. So that's why it's a little better to use an SMG, because SMG is a little better at longer ranges. And probably never activate this one, because if you activate it, that means the enemy is close enough to you that it can shoot you. And if you get shot, how should I put it? Try to get shot from behind cover if you want to trigger it to kill a bigger enemy wave. For example, you have 5 enemies and you want to kill them. Go behind cover and start shooting at them. It will happen. Health. Not much to say over here, it just gives you more health. So more health with a lower chance to receive a wound does increase your survivability a lot. Now at max rank this is not so good because you're going to die, but it also allows you to survive longer in fire or being wounded or just running away. Then you have this one, the increase to the dodge chance. Now this is also a bit annoying. Tanking a player whether hit or not activates the trigger. A successful attack on the player activates the trigger. So as you can see, it's a bit of a difference. So if you get shot at, you will trigger the dodge chance. If the shot misses, you will only trigger the dodge chance. If the shot hits you, you also trigger the Blind Fury, which is a bit annoying because basically an enemy with a pistol can shoot you and then you will waste 100 hunger and then you will have increased odds to delete the enemy that attacks you, but it's a bit too randomized, so that's why I don't like the Scouts of Hades with their trigger perks over here, and as you can see, it's a bit limited on this side as well, so yeah, only good for the beginning. I'll explain this a little better just because this will be the class most people use for a long time. Eclipse Blades. Melee accuracy, not much to say about this. I don't like playing melee because melee is such a huge risk in this game, especially because some enemies will also have their own melee, and melee usually can mean getting two-shot very easy or just getting a lot of pain or a lot of wounds. Dodge chance. Again, very funny because they make you fight in melee, which I don't really recommend. Plus you have this one, Sprint's Effect Accuracy. So as you can see, they are recommending you play in sprint mode, meaning you'll get free action points, you'll get a bigger chance to dodge and a bigger chance to hit the enemy. Which sounds nice until you get shot by a lot of enemies. Cannibalism. Cannibalism is pretty easy to trigger, but remember, eating human meat will increase the QMorph meter, so it's not feasible on certain planets. Also, it's only a slight increase in damage, plus you don't really need that since most of the melee weapons do a lot of damage against the normal enemy, so I don't understand this one. You don't really need it in the beginning of the game, it's only useful in the late game, but in the late game you don't want to play melee unless you know what you're doing very, very well. Then you have this one, melee killing triggers a damage increase to all damage, and this is interesting because it says all damage, so I guess at this point you can switch to your killing gun. I guess it's pretty easy to get into melee range to kill a single enemy and then just use a bigger gun to destroy the other enemies, and then regeneration. Getting a bleeding wound. Getting a bleeding wound is a lot harder than it seems because sometimes you just get a fracture, sometimes you'll get a wound from poison, from shock, from anything else but bleeding. So it's only going to be good against normal enemies with normal guns, but at the same time, I don't think you're supposed to need it because you're supposed to be avoiding all of the shots with your dodge. I guess it's really meant to help you in melee, but again, I don't like the whole concept of this class, the Eclipse Blades, because it kind of sets you up for failure, especially because you will waste a lot of food on nothing. Basically, also if you're if you are going to go into the sprint mode, you cannot open your inventory, so you'll kill an enemy in sprint mode and then you switch to normal mode to open their inventory and do inventory management and then go back to sprint mode, which is a little bit annoying because it just means you'll change stances a lot, and I don't know. Just not worth it. It's not worth it because it will slow down your game a lot playing with this class to take full benefit from their bonuses. Tifton Elite. Now this class was, I think, also improved a little bit and it's actually good now. There are some problems. As you can see, you have a perk that stabilizes all of the wounds, meaning if you get shot and you get, let's say, 2 or 3 wounds, it will instantly heal them. But the cooldown is 4 turns and activation is 50 angles. So basically you'll be immune to most of the wounds, except you'll use a lot more food, so that's a big problem. On the other hand, you will not get shot that often if you know what you're doing, so it's kind of like a very good perk. I like it. Grenadier, grenade damage. You'll not really use the grenades because grenades are hard to come by, but it says, well, it's actually pretty clear that the grenade damage is increased from grenade launcher and grenade throws. So that means you can get a grenade launcher as a secondary weapon and then just mass produce a lot of grenades and have a lot of fun with it. So this can definitely be a very fun class to play in the mid to late game because of the grenade launcher. Thrown grenades are not that useful in my opinion. Heavy weapon scatter. As you can see, this is for the assault rifle, rapid fire, heavy grenade launcher. Not sure what they mean by a rapid fire. They might want to say it's everything related to rapid fire. I haven't tested out it a lot, but basically the weapon you want to use for this class is an assault rifle that uses heavy ammo. This one is useless because you don't really want to deploy a lot of turrets. The only reason to use the turrets is in defensive missions or when you are being attacked by a baron, or sometimes when you have to complete an objective and the hallway is long and you just have a lot of enemies coming at you. But on the other hand, it's kind of expensive to use the turrets, I don't know. I found myself getting a lot less turrets in this version of the game, so because the turrets are so hard to get and they're also going to occupy a lot of space that you definitely need to loot, to take other loot with you, it's going to be much harder to use the turrets, because again, various problems. Addiction, incoming damage is reduced if you use meds. Now, this is kind of a weird thing because it says addiction. As you can see, it will determine the hunger cost. So that means you use a lot of meds. I think it will get triggered by sorbet on some of the other stuff. But again, you don't want to get shot. And if you get shot, the damage you receive will either be big or small. This is a very niche perk because you really get a chance to use it at its full potential. I guess if you're going to do a mission with a a lot of QMorph meter and you have a lot of morphine on you, this will definitely help you a lot. So I guess it's worth it in the mid game where you have a lot of medicine available to you and you can use it a lot. Then you have this one over here, last bullet. I think the last round will activate this. Again, if you fire it, that means you need to reload your weapon, so that means you need a good vest. So in a way, this is a little more interesting. So if you can get a high damage assault rifle or the grenade launcher, and if you shoot the last bullet and then switch to the grenade launcher, and then you have this thing over here, I don't know, it might work very well for us. But again, this is a very, very defensive class in my opinion, because as you can see, you only have a reduced scatter, and that's kind of like the only thing you get. The rest of this stuff is very defensive in my opinion. So it's a very defensive class that can do a lot of damage. So that means it's finicky, it's gimmicky, I don't like it. The Tannerats. The Tannerats are amazing, I don't want to explain too much about it, but Marauder perk will basically give you a lot more loot from the enemy corpses. But not only that, it will give you specific loot from the enemy corpses. Meaning if you loot a worker, you might get a pack of cigarettes, but if you loot a medic or a doctor or something like that, you might get morphine or other medicine. If you loot a soldier, you'll get soldier-specific stuff like communication modules and stuff, but the trick is if you loot an endgame or a ultimate soldier of the enemy or secret agent or whatever they are, they might give you some of the materials you need to upgrade the ship. For example, if you loot a scientist, you might get another cloning station, you might get another research station, you might get very, very rare materials. So in essence, this is the best perk in the game, because not only does it increase the amount of loot from normal enemies, it increases the loot from elite enemies. So you can, let's say, kill 50 elite enemies and you'll get the loot from 50 elite enemies. But if you play with this class, you can get the loot from over 200 enemies if you kill only 50 of them. So 50 elite enemies killed for another class is 50. But for the Tannerats with Max Marauder perk, 50 elite enemies killed, I would say just 200, so 4 times the amount of loot, because sometimes the loot is not so good, but sometimes the loot is very good. So this is a massive improvement. I think people underestimate how good this is. Especially considering in the endgame you can even get faction chips. That's how I got a faction chip. So I only got a faction chip, but I think it will be super, super rare to find it with other classes. Just because you don't really have the chance to do it. Yeah, over here. So as you can see, I found this SBN chip on an SBN Ultimate Agent or on Ultimate Soldier, and also I found some of the high-tech chips as well on Soldiers. So I cannot say how much it helps you advance in the game. I don't know what they'll do with the game, but definitely Tannerats are too good. Shotgun ammo damage. This increases the shotgun ammo damage, meaning it will not work with electromagnetic shotguns, with energy shotguns or anything else, because it says it increases only the damage of the ammo used in the gun. Very self-explanatory. You can also basically use this. This will be your first weapon that will destroy walls. Amazing. Destroy walls, kill a lot of enemies, use the burst fire to kill anything that wants to get closer to you. Just amazing. Immune response, resists plus 20%. Basically it gives you a lot more armor and is going to really add up in the end game. And I don't know, without the immune response, it seems like the armor will never be enough unless you have endgame armor that is upgraded. So yeah, you'll probably need a lot of it in the early and the mid game, so super useful. To be honest, I don't like this, but as you can see, it has a low cooldown and it will heal all of your wounds, so you can get out of very, very sticky situations by just this defensive trigger. Caution, it gives you a crit chance, which is again amazing, because if you reveal a hidden enemy, you will most likely kill it very fast. Again, it's a bit of a waste, but at least you have some extra damage. And also this one, accuracy from cover. It's a trigger perk as well. Enemy attack miss on the player activates the trigger. So that means you basically have to stand behind cover. Usually there are the little walls over there. Overall, the class is a bit defensive in some regards, but it's kind of like the perfect blend. I think they should just modify it so all of the classes have economic boost skill, otherwise it doesn't make sense, or they should remove the Marauder perk from the Tannerat. It's just too good. So you have an increased damage, you have an increased defense, which these are both passive, this one as well. And then you have this one that basically gives you a free card to get out of a lot of wounds. Then the crit chance, which is not so useful. Actually, this is one of the least useful perks of this class, so I don't really like it. Then you have this one, Shelter. So you're mostly going to be fighting out of cover. And if you go out of cover, you can still survive a few shots. Anyway, just an amazing class overall. I think all of the classes should be similar to how this one is built. Meaning they should have economy perk, an economy passive perk, a damage passive perk, and also defensive passive perk. and then the rest can be whatever they like. Phoenix Brigade. So how did Phoenix Brigade change over here? Well, now it has the battery damage. So again, any class that increases damage with a certain ammo type is amazing. And remember, that battery damage is basically energy damage that is basically the highest damage guns in the game. Let me show you. I have a few energy weapons over here, yeah. So that means the Discharger, the shotgun, will do a lot more damage. The Devour, the plasma rifle, which has 5 range. And then, of course, do I have the Omegas? Doesn't seem like I have the Omegas. Anyway, you can get a lot of cool stuff. Maybe they're down here. So the normal rifles and the laser pulse rifle with 7 range. Beautiful. Oh, I also got one of the String 21, the energy guns. That's actually amazing. Now, this causes beam damage, but as you can see, 24 to 34 for a pistol is crazy, especially because you can increase the damage so much and it has 5 range again. Some of the stuff you will see over here will be amazing. We have Devourers over here. Anyway, it's good. It's good that I have a lot of them. Now, let's go forward, otherwise we'll never get through this. Burn chance increases the burn chance with fire, beam, or plasma damage. Keep in mind that the plasma, beam, and fire damage are separate damage types, but at the same time, basically every shot you do with battery ammo will light an enemy on fire. So that means if they don't get killed by the first damage, they'll probably just burn and die, and they can also spread fire around them, so that's even better. And the fire duration will be increased, and also the burning time as well. So that means if they cause a little fire on the doorway and other people come through the door, they also get set on fire. So basically you get increased damage, increased chance to burn enemies, and then the burn damage will also spread to other enemies. So it's amazing for crowd control. We have also here elemental resist, which is only a trigger, and elemental damage is basically anything except blunt, pierce, and cut. Kind of good, but kind of bad because it's only a trigger, and that means you need to be successfully attacked and hit. Combat. It's like he's shooting a weapon, activates the trigger. Now this is the problem. As you can see, it only works for laser and plasma. It has a big cooldown, but it decreases the reload duration. I'm not sure how you're supposed to use this, but I'll just say that it's not bad, it's not good. Basically allows you to shoot all the time, more or less. Then you have the Taste of Blood, which is just regeneration. So you have basically damage, crowd control, and a little more damage over here. Then you just have something for the defense, and then reload faster, so it means you can shoot all the time, and regeneration. Basically you have everything, like I said, everything that you need. A lot of stuff that increases your damage, and some stuff that will help you defend better. But overall, the Phoenix Brigade is kind of a squishy class, and since you'll be using energy weapons, you'll be carrying a lot of energy ammo or battery ammo. And if you die with this class, you'll definitely feel like you want to cry, because you lose so many good items that will be very hard to replace in the early and the mid game. So definitely I would say this is a mid to end game class, just because of all of the things that you have to equip in order to make this work. But very fun to play. Spaceborn Ghosts. Well, this is a gimmick class. I'll not speak too much about it. Basically, it's your basic dodge class. You have a passive dodge, an active dodge, which triggers, of course. Oh, wait. What am I saying? No. So you have, this is for sprinting accuracy, so you can basically be running all the time and have less penalties to your fire. Then you have a passive dodge chance. You have, yeah, this was changed as well. So you have also the resist increase, which is good, because if you get shot, you'll not die. Then the sneaky shot. So each hit in stealth mode activates the trigger. So basically when you see an enemy, go into stealth mode and shoot the enemies. So this class is a little bit annoying and finicky because it's a bit too defensive in my opinion. Doesn't have any damage, it just has a lot of survivability, especially this one. You just get a better crit chance, so I guess automatics will be the way to go. Proper nutrition means you'll heal much faster when you are fully satiated, which is great because that means you can eat some food and then kind of tank the damage if you get damage. But as you can see, you don't really need to have the XP healing, the food healing on all the time because of all of the dodge stuff. The last thing is the war crime. Stun duration 1 turn. Let me count 1. It's kind of hard to stun an enemy, so this is why I don't understand why this is here. I think this is one of those perks that was not really fully implemented or thought through. So I guess this is more or less useless right now. I probably think it will work well with shock weapons, but again, the Spaceborn Ghosts are just something that you want to play if you don't have anything else and you want to maximize your survival chance, but you'll also maximize your survival chance if you kill the enemies much faster. Now let's go to the three classes that were added in the big update. Angel of Spades. This is also a very good one. So these three classes that were added are kind of like very, very good, but they're also a bit finicky. So Precise Shot. Skipping a turn in stealth mode activates your trigger. So that means you have a crit chance, which is amazing because this means you can get crit chance whenever you need it. So that means you can deal a lot of damage in a very short period of time with a lot of ways to control it. And this is kind of like the problem. As you can see, you have another thing. Amputation chance is increased by inflicting a wound, which is pretty easy to do. Just need a weapon with a lot of damage, or just get lucky. Or just use the sniper rifle. But then, here is the problem. The first shot with the full magazine activates the trigger. So as you can see, you get accuracy and range crit chance, amputation chance, and range crit chance as well. So if you do all of this, you can get 3 triggers of the perks, which means you lose 150 food. Is a bit too much, in my opinion. And then you have the accuracy of the shooting, and then you have armor penetration. Then you have the bleed damage. So as you can see, this is a weapon, this is a class designed to work with a weapon that inflicts bleeding damage. More or less, I would say this is a sniper class because of all of the stuff they have. An assault rifle and a sniper rifle type of deal. This is also very, very useful. I don't think people kind of realize how good this is because the bleed damage increases massive. Even if you just use a sniper rifle with burst mode, that means 2 bullets are fired at the enemy that might penetrate the armor 10% or more. Basically, this means instead of doing the at least 10% damage, you'll be dealing a lot more damage at max strength. So all of the armored enemies in the beginning of the game will be basically paper armor, and also this will help you in the end game. So this is a class designed for the end game where you have a lot of food and weapons that can definitely kill enemies easier. So yes, this is especially designed for enemies that wear the full set armor of their faction. For example, if they have, I don't know, let's say 40 pierce resist, you can ignore most of that anyway. You can ignore at least 10%. I'm not sure if this is additive or anything or how it works, but basically you'll be able to kill down very armored enemies with heavy ammo. Definitely for heavy ammo with sniper rifles with burst mode and such. So as you can see, it has a few good things, but the problem is if you get swarmed by a lot of enemies, these are going to be useless and they'll not trigger at the right time. I guess that's why you have the assault rifle with you, and you'll kill them pretty fast. So I don't know. In a way, it's a semi-good end-game class just because of the damage it can bring to the fight. But on the other hand, where do you get your damage from? You don't really have anything that gives you pure damage. You just do a lot more average damage or a lot more general damage on the enemies. Definitely take into consideration and definitely use endgame stuff for this class. Otherwise, you'll not deal enough damage to take fully benefit from this stuff. Ah, the Terror Pack. The Terror Pack is the best melee class in the game and it's so much fun to play. I tried it a couple of times. It's kind of annoying, but once you get the hang of things, it's great. Regeneration, not much to say about this, exceeding the pain threshold. So I think this will only trigger when you are in pain, but that might also stun you. So I'm not sure I see the point of it, because if you're going to get stunned, you might die as well. So yeah, this is a bit iffy because again, it's a defensive thing that it's kind of like your last chance, but it might not help you at all. This is the fun part. As you can see, this is a trigger perk, eating Gvak, so that means you need to have a lot of Gvak. Enemy conversion, I think when you encounter an enemy you have a chance to convert them to your side, which is kind of hilarious, but there's a catch. The enemy that you convert will not move around the level with you, so I think they'll just stay in one place or move very, very little. So even if in paper it sounds really nice, you will not really get an army of followers as you might think over here. You will not be a cult leader. You just get a few people to help you in combat sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not work. So this is a lot worse than it sounds, just because you need a lot of Gvak, and you also need to activate it when you are near a lot of enemies, and also to level it up, think about all of the uses you need to have. So 5 Gvak for the first level up, it's going to be crazy, but it's going to be well worth it in the end game. Possession. I haven't played a lot with the packs, and some of the packs can be really cool, and I have to do a separate video for the packs and stuff like that, but again, that's going to be a lot of work I need to do. But generally, this will turn you into a demon, and the packs are much better right now. I think I think the practices are worth using now, but on the other hand, you can just play something like the Thunder Rats or the Phoenix Brigade and do a lot of damage with endgame guns that can also be upgraded. So yeah, you're going to get damage from three sources. Endgame guns, which have a lot more damage than normal guns, the perk that increases the damage, and then the upgrades of the weapons with the ship system. So I don't know, this doesn't seem as good as it could be, so I'm not sure when you're supposed to use this. I'll just say that this is kind of like for flavor or for YouTube videos, not really for practical uses. Anybody's not much to say over here. Eat meat, get damage. Insanity. Well, this is the important one. So as you can see, each change of QuasiMorph stages grants 5 experience. So this will be very easy to level up if you go on a planet with the QMorph meter. So how does this work? Well, basically, you will get the effects. Well, like, wow, this is so badly worded. Let's say if the QMorph meter is 500 and they get, let's say, 100 HP bonus, all of the enemies get 100% HP bonus, and this will be 20%. That means you get 20% bonus HP for yourself and some of the other bonuses. I forgot what bonuses they get, but basically this will allow you to be on equal terms with all of the enemies. And that will make you so much more tankier, especially in melee. So when the QMorph meter rises, your stats will also rise proportionally to the Q meter. And then you have a basic passive perk, which is amputation, chance, and chance of injury. So oh yeah, blade, axe, and chainsaw. So yeah, this will work very, very well with the melee weapons. I don't want to go too much into the details, but basically you will have a class that can regenerate when you are in pain. Okay, not very useful. Kvak, not very useful. Pact, not very useful. Cannibalism, very useful. So you will just eat meat, increase the QMorph meter, and get more buffs, and then you just have such a big chance of amputation and injury that you'll basically be killing enemies left and right with your main perks over here. You don't need a lot of armor or a lot of speed or a lot of dodge, but one of the most fun ways to play the game. I like it a lot. Definitely try out this one in the endgame. Valkyrja Squad. Why is this such a good thing? Well, and why do I give it such a high tier list? Simply put, it's one of the classes that has everything, just like the Phoenix Brigade or the Tanurats, except for the economic stuff, like I said. Pierce chance is increased with SMGs, so that means you can shoot through enemies. So if there are 3 enemies in front of you in a straight line, you'll hit all of them almost. Think about it, you're going to fire a lot of bullets that have a chance to pierce the enemies and do a lot of damage. So it's going to be great. Heal wound. Now, whenever you bandage a wound, there is a chance to heal it. Sometimes the chance is 60%, 70%, but if you bandage it with rags, the chance is lower and it will not heal, and then you need to bandage it again. What this does is that you can actually just bandage with rags and it will almost all the time heal in the first attempt. So this is amazing for defensive purposes, especially after you get hit and have a wound or something. So crowd control, defensive for wounds. Then you have this one, emergency revival. Shock effect. Now again, this is a little bit very, very weirdly worded, because shock effect says electric, so that means you can only use it with 3 weapons in the game. I'll just assume this means you'll get more damage on your shock weapons, and there are a few shock weapons in the game that are super overpowered. There are only 3 shock weapons in the game. You have the pistol from Ancom, the rifle, which is amazing. Look at the damage, the crit damage, and the range. Amazing and marvelous. The only problem is that you need to use the quasi ammo. You can only get from the demons. But I wouldn't say it's very hard to stockpile it. Okay, let's go and speak more about it, because definitely this is a top tier class as well. Top tier in regards of damage and defensive stuff. So you can use an SMG that has electric damage. Is there such a thing in the game? Nope, there's no such thing, but you should probably just ignore this one. It's kind of crazy. So you have a rifle. You'll mostly be using the rifle, but there is also a machine gun that does electric damage that is very hard to get. So basically you'll be using only that AAP rifle from Encom. Shock rifle, which is amazing. This one is also pretty good, so you can consume addictive med triggers. I mean, you can just use the morphine or use the cigarettes. I'm not sure if they count as meds. I don't know, I didn't really test this out, but basically what it does is it will allow you to use less calories, so it's actually going to be a very good class to just walk around the big level and loot everything, because you'll have more time with this one. You can just eat something to reduce the QMorph meter. Definitely a very, very useful one for levels where you have QMorph meters. Precise shot, I already talked about this, and I don't see the point of it since you can only use it with SMGs. I guess it will be good because you need to use a assault rifle and just shoot once, going into stealth mode. The shock weapon definitely can have some uses. This is the interesting one. If you reload, you have a better chance to dodge. So this is a bit weird because it will help, but at the same time, it's not as good as some of the other stuff that we can have. So yeah, definitely this one is kind of like a wasted opportunity over here. The precise shot, again, it's a wasted opportunity just because you don't have the weapons to kind of use it efficiently. This is kind of nice. It will allow you to play the game at a much easier survival setting. Now, you can see we have talked 40 minutes about all of this stuff, and I kind of gave you all of the hints you need and how they work, so you can kind of guess what you need to do, but I think the list will remain the same. Rats, Phoenix Brigade, and Valkyrja Squad. This is just on a lower tier list because we don't have a lot of shock weapons, and the shock weapons we have are kind of hard to unlock. You just have to fight a lot of encom. That's basically the only way to get them for now. Anyway, if you have any questions, just ask. I think I explained the classes very well, and I don't think I missed anything. There are some other things you can do with the interactions, but mostly it will depend on some of your gear and, of course, how much you know about the game. Anyway, see you next time. Bye bye.